What's up guys, I'm Nick of CamCrunch, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the Canon 35mm f2 with image stabilization. Now when this lens came out, and even till now, it's greeted with sort of mixed thoughts, mixed reviews, because even though it's a good lens, it's a 35mm f2, so it's not as high end as the f1.4 versions out there. It's a little smaller, a little more compact. It also has image stabilization, which is good for not only low light shooting, but video as well, things like that. It was a little bit expensive, and it is still a little bit expensive, so a lot of people don't know whether to make that jump to the f1.4 or whether or not to just stick with this one, even though it's a little bit pricey. So today I'm going to share my thoughts, share some images that I've taken with this lens, and yeah, just go from there. If you guys don't want to, stick around for the whole review, I'll just sort of give you my summary right now. If you don't need image stabilization, then you should go for something like the Sigma 35mm f1.4. That's also if you don't mind the bigger size of that lens, the bigger weight. But if you want something in the 35mm focal length and you want image stabilization and you don't have a camera with image stabilization, then the Canon 35mm f2 is a very nice option to have. Now also, Tamron released a 35mm f1.8 with image stabilization, so that could be a good option for you as well. I'm going to have the links to everything that I talk about in the description box down below. So the first thing I want to do is sort of show you the lens, the size, its build quality, and that sort of stuff. Now the lens is an all plastic lens. It's got, a metal lens mount and some metal in there, but the outside is a hard quality plastic, which is much better than the lower quality plastics that used to be in sort of the budget lens lineup. These are almost L quality, I would say. It has a nice weight and a nice heft to it. Again, it has that metal mount, which is really nice, which makes the connection to the camera a lot more sturdy. It's got the distance scale right here, which I want to show you because mine actually got cracked. It was my fault. It fell down. The crack is sort of in the inside. I don't really feel it, but it's there, and I thought I'd show you. In the front, it's got a 67mm front filter thread, which I use this adapter to make it a 77 so that I can stick other filters on that. Sorry, I just hit the lens right there. And overall, it's a compact 35mm, but it's not as small as the previous version, which is understandable because this, again, has image stabilization. It's got a nice heft to it, a nice weight, and overall, it feels like a very, very well-built lens. Now, let's look at it on the Canon 6D. So, here's the Canon 6D. Let's just put it here and attach this. So if you can see here, it looks pretty fat still. So it's not as compact as other setups, but again, for 35mm with image stabilization, this is a nice and compact setup, and it will still be smaller than that Sigma 35mm f1.4 that a lot of people will go after. So it's a nice small option, and for some people, the size itself is reason enough to get this over the 35mm f1.4 from Sigma. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get to the lens itself and just see what's up. Now, before I actually show you guys the images that came out of this 35mm f2 with image stabilization, I just want to say up front that the 35mm focal length, even though it's one of those classic focal lengths that a lot of people love, it's not a focal length that I'm used to. It's not a focal length that I'm comfortable with even till now, even after shooting with this lens for a while, even after owning a still owning a Leica 35mm Summicron. It's still a focal length that I'm not too comfortable with. But with that being said, the images that I've got with this lens just look really nice. I like the focal length when I get the shot right. It's just something that I'm not used to. So here are some shots that I took in a trip that I went to with some friends. It is in an area called Batangas here in the Philippines. So it's like a beach, and we went to this island called Fortune Island. Really cool spot. I got some awesome pictures, and here they are for you. So in terms of sharpness, this lens is super sharp, but I've never really had a lens that wasn't sharp enough. So if you want something that's, more than enough, this lens is it. If you want something super, super sharp, then go for that Sigma 35mm f1.4. Again, it doesn't have image stabilization, but it's a very good lens. It's actually better than this lens in terms of sharpness, even at f2. I really like how the images turned out, and again, I really like the focal length of this lens very much. So a while ago, I briefly mentioned some of the competitors to the 35mm f2 image stabilization. The main one being the Sigma f1.4, the 35mm f1.4, and that's because they're very, very close in price. The Sigma is, I believe, $800 or $900, so it's not that expensive at all, and technically it's a much better lens. So I'm going to say this outright, that if you just want a 35mm with the highest performance, you don't really care about the size too much, or you don't care that, you know, it's a third-party lens, and you don't care for image stabilization, then the Sigma is 100% the way to go. It's what I would actually consider adding a Sigma to, you know, my kit if the 35mm was something that I really shot with. Like, for example, I shoot with a Canon 24mm f2.8 with image stabilization because I like its compactness, but because I like that focal length so much, I'd actually even consider purchasing the Sigma 24mm f1.4 because I like those focal lengths so much, and, you know, they both have their own purposes. But if you want something nice and compact, or a little bit more compact than the Sigma, this is a very good option to have. If you need image stabilization, this is a good option to have. But again, there's that other Tamron version, which I will link to down below. I haven't tried it, so I can't recommend it, but it also looks like a very good option to have. So that's it, guys. That is sort of my thoughts about this 35mm f2 with image stabilization. Now, if I think of anything else, I'm going to make a follow-up review, or I might, you know, update you guys on Instagram or Snapchat or something like that. So go follow me on those places. But overall, this is a lens I'm still trying to get used to, a lens that I'm still trying to work on. But I'm really liking how it is, and I hope I get more comfortable with this because it's a very good lens. Again, I'm Nico of Camera Crunch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.